Lord. Hey, y'all, what's up? Let me see. What's going on, everybody? So let me give people an opportunity to get up here. And I'm going to talk about a couple of different things this evening as I'm journeying. Yeah, I'm going to talk about a couple of different things as I'm journeying. So, yeah, just jump on for a second and camp out with me for a second while I try to get my, because it's somebody I got to get on to come on, because we're going to actually address the Marquia Bryan situation. We're going to address that because we feel like it's necessary to kind of just clear the air a little bit relative to, this is the thing, let me say this, before I even start talking about the Marquia Bryan situation, this is what I need you to understand. What I discuss about that situation is based upon the elements of a crime. It's not based upon a police officer shooting or killing a kid. I think it's important that while we address what transpired, I think it's really important for everybody to understand the elements of the crime. Because what's happening is, like, a lot of people, are saying a lot of things about this situation. And I understand it. I get our emotions are high because, like you said, and like everybody is saying, as soon as the verdict dropped, it's like, dang, the verdict can't drop, fast enough, and we already RIPing and sleeping in heaven and all that for somebody else. So, I mean, I do get it. I definitely get it. But what I want to say is, before we get uber emotional about what's going on, let's really, really, really try our best to start being logical and analytical as well as emotional. Because for real, if we can start seemingly thinking about things a little bit deeper, it would be so much easier. But anyway, all right, so let's wrap. So with the whole Marquia Bryan situation, first and foremost, there are a couple of unknowns. The thing is, when we see videos from one angle. We don't really get to see videos from an array of angles simply because when it's time for a trial, certain things go into evidence. There are a couple of unknowns that probably need to be addressed. And the reason those unknowns need to be addressed is because we keep lumping everything into one category. And that's why I preface this conversation by saying, I'm not talking about Marquia Bryan to justify, you know what I'm saying, or sensationalize what's going on. I'm talking about Marquia Bryan's situation to help you people understand the importance of truly understand the elements of a crime, all the way from the commission thereof and at the point in time when the police decide that they're going to jump in. Because what's happening is we get so emotional and caught up when these things happen, and I get it, rightfully so, because so many people are getting killed senselessly. But I charge us to be equally irate across the board when our babies are getting killed. Because what's happening is, it's getting to the point, y'all, for real, where we are okaying us killing each other as long as don't nobody else kill us. And guys, the reality is, none of us need to be dying senselessly. Now, with that being stated, law enforcement training is really interesting, because what you'll find is different localities, different states do things differently. Do I agree with it? No, because I feel like all law enforcement training needs to be the same across the board. But we know that's not the case. We know that really nothing is universal this day and time. So I think, it's important for us to really think about that when we're focusing in on these situations, because what's happening is, like, for real, y'all, I promise you, everybody is getting so upset and irate. But we getting upset and irate, but we not doing anything to fix the problem. And I definitely understand being upset, but let's think about it like this. When we get upset, and start putting out our assessment of what happened, like, what are we really accomplishing, right? Nothing. Now, George Floyd's situation was totally different, and I'm going to tell you why it was totally different. It was totally different because, well, for one, there was no gun involved. And this man literally, really, honestly, you can't really say his bare hands because his hands weren't really on him, but he essentially killed this man with his bare knee. Well, with his pant knee, And so I'm just struggling with the fact that we continue to seemingly look over the fact that, guys, nobody gonna respect our lives until we start to respect our own lives. And that's the first piece. Honestly, y'all, that's the first piece. Nobody is gonna respect our lives until we start respecting our own lives. And so I think that what's happening is, when people start, I don't care what you say, she didn't deserve that. Nobody's saying the little girl deserved that. But let me tell you something. If you've never worked on a psych ward, and if you've never worked in a prison, and if you've never worked on any type of behavioral health unit in a facility, you really will not understand what you might do in the event that you walk into a situation. Now, like I said, one of the unknowns, we don't know what this child's profile looks like, because one of the things that I did make sure, I haven't even watched the videos, guys, I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't watch the videos. I only read reports because I like to read and create my own assessment before seeing it. Because let me tell you something, that's another reason y'all need to learn. So one of the reasons I address things the way I address them is because I've been an investigator before. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a part of that is I kind of learned, all right, these are the ins and the outs. These are the things that you look for. One of the major things you have to understand is, in any situation, for EMS, for police officers, firefighters, or what have you, the first thing they are supposed to do is assess the scene. Now, when it comes to paramedics, when it comes to firefighters, and when it comes to law enforcement officers, the assessment is different. Law enforcement officers assess, well, actually, you know what, I take that back, it's not different. Each entity assesses the situation for danger. In this instance, knife, danger. Alright, this little girl wasn't no small little girl. I did see a picture of her. She wasn't no small little girl. I also read, report-wise, that she was in a foster home. So all of y'all out there saying she was in front of her own home, no. I beg to differ. And until I see some reports that say otherwise, I'm sticking with the fact that she's in a foster home. And the reason I'm bringing up all of these elements is because I understand the emotion. So I'm not saying don't get emotional. What's up, cousin? I'm not saying don't get emotional. But what I'm saying is, before we get so emotional that we don't think rationally, understand something. What if, just forget that a police officer killed this kid. What if that was your child out there getting ready to get stabbed by this girl? Are you gonna sit there would you just sit there and watch this girl stab your child, or are you gonna try to stop her? And my other question is, are you gonna try to stop her by tackling her and getting the knife and take risk of getting yourself killed, or are you gonna stop her by any means necessary? And like I said, I'm gonna continue to say, but in no way am I justifying what happened, but I really need y'all to stop lumping every case into the same situation, because all of these circumstances are different. All of these circumstances are different. I'm going to be real with you. I agree. If they would have made an example out of George Zimmerman, I don't think we would be this deep in the shit. But what I need you people to understand is you got to stop getting so emotional as when it happened. This is my thing. I'm going to get hype as shit once I get all the information. Then I'm going to get mad as hell. Because once I get all the information and I can really synthesize what's going on, I'm going to be mad as hell. But see, the other thing, I'm going to tell you what another difference is. A lot of times we get emotional about shit we don't understand. So for me, I'm looking at it from a different lens because I've been on the inside so many times, you know, in a practitioner capacity, that I understand a lot of what's going on. Now, granted, no, I don't understand the police officer part because that was never something that interested me. I mean, you know, even going through undergrad in criminal justice, to my internship with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, to working with the police officers. You know what I'm saying? Like, being a police officer was never something I wanted to do because I distinctly remember reading the newspaper headlines from how the police officers were in the 1960s. So my thing is, honestly, policing hasn't changed, y'all. Policing hasn't changed. The level of technology has changed. Policing hasn't changed. Let me tell you something. My mother said this to me this morning. Believe it or not, the senior citizens having the same debates that we having. This lady in my mother's building started talking to her about George Floyd and some more shit. And my mama said she looked at her and told her, you can't tell me shit, because you ain't never been on that side. I've been on that side before. I done been in front of the police that didn't give a damn about me back in the 60s. So I think for us, for real, what some of us need to do is sit down and talk to our elders about policing. You know what I'm saying? Some of us need to honestly find a police officer that you trust. Because my issue is all police officers not bad. But see, this is what happens. You know how they say one rotten apple spoiled a whole bunch? I disagree with that. I think rotten sliced apples will spoil one another. Y'all get what I'm saying? Rotten sliced apples will spoil one another. You feel what I'm saying? And I think where we are now is we're clumping everything together because we don't understand it. That's why I keep saying you have got to start studying the law to understand the law. Thanks be to God, that's what I went to school for. So for me, when I get emotional, I'm emotional because I understand the law and I don't fucking understand how they're applying it. So we all have a right to our own opinion. But all I say is, y'all, start backing some of your opinions with fact. Start really researching stuff so you understand what's going on. Because I really hate to see my people saying ignorant ass shit. I say ignorant ass shit just because I can, because I know better. You feel what I'm saying? And it's not an excuse, but a lot of times I say ignorant shit just to bait out ignorant people. So really and truly, I know who to look out for and who not to really align myself with. You know, a lot of things that I post have nothing to do with me. A lot of things that I post have everything to do with conversations that me and my girlfriends have that may bring up situations that they've dealt with or that they've heard people dealing with. So stop reading into everybody's shit. Because a lot of times people ain't got shit going on. But whatever you got going on in your house and in your brain and in your heart is coming out because you reading something that somebody else posts. Everything red ain't about you. But if the shoe fit, god daggone it, wear the damn shoe. But yeah, you know, Chelsea don't know it, and y'all know she probably ain't even paying attention. Chelsea like to watch stuff when it's over, but Chelsea don't know it. But Chelsea, Drea and I, for real, we gonna do an intro to criminal justice course for y'all. You know, I don't think I need to produce my credentials, but if I do need to produce my credentials, I will. Because I definitely have well over 120 hours. Yes, I do. I have over 120 credit hours in criminal justice at the undergrad, graduate level, and law school level. As well as probably over 800 internship hours, as well as my job, you know, in working with the DOC on the program and administration side. So, once again, please ask me to produce my credentials, and I will gladly do so. Because one of the things I think is important, see, a lot of you, because of social media, a lot of you have become criminal justice practitioners, behavioral health practitioners, relationship counselors. And let me just demystify something. Guys, it takes a long time for us to get through clinical mental health counseling programs and to accomplish 4,000 clinical hours. Trust me. When I tell you, them 4,000 hours take forever, and I'm still going. So it is a little bit annoying when people continue to speak on things that you really have no formal training or knowledge regarding. Now, I will say this. If you suffer with mental illness, you do definitely have credibility, because there is a particular position called peer support specialist. However, guess what? There's training that's required for that. There's something called peer support specialist or recovery specialist training. So once again, you study to show thyself approved. So what that means is, I'm not saying don't display your public opinion on social media. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, when situations arise, especially like this Marquia Bryan situation, and even, you know what, y'all, for real, even Jacob Blake, situations like that, guys, practice studying and researching the situation. And I'm going to tell you something that I learned in law school. So, one of the things that we had to do when we were writing briefs is that we would go back, guys, 16th, 17th, 18th century, and we had to review cases, and we had to find cases that seemingly matched the case that we were given or the case that we were working on. And so in doing that, you begin to really learn the elements of crimes and how they have evolved over time. And that's why I'm saying to you people, like, it's a little bit different for me and my peer group. And when I say my peer group, I'm talking about my intimate circle, because the majority of us came out of the criminal justice system, meaning we either got formally trained in the criminal justice system and then we went to work on the inside, or we got formally trained in the criminal justice system and then we stepped up into different graduate programs because we did see that the system was flawed. Now, for me, I preface myself as a sociological criminal justice practitioner. And what that simply means is I focus in on the root cause of things. Like with this situation with Marquia Bryan, while I know the police officer shot and killed her, I'm more concerned about the antecedents. So you have A, B, C. You have antecedents, you have behaviors, and you have consequences. I'm more concerned about the antecedents and the precursors to the antecedents, because something triggered this girl. Now, if in fact she was getting ready to get jumped, let's go back once again. The jumping would have been a behavior, or the jumping could have been a consequence of her behavior. So we need to know what the antecedents are. So all I'm saying, guys, is this: ABC when these things happen. And I promise you, you can get emotional. I'm not going to say don't get emotional off the rip, because hell, I get emotional about certain things off the rip. Today, somebody told me I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I probably do. When it comes to bullshit, of course I do. You know, we all do when it comes to bullshit. But one of the things I really caution you to do, that after you display these emotions, ABC the situation. Try to figure out, all right, what were the antecedents that caused these behaviors, and these were the consequences. But basically what's going to happen is you're going to work backwards, because the consequence, as sad as it is in this situation, was the young lady getting shot. So what we do is we take that consequence, we look at what behaviors led to the consequence, and then we look at what antecedents led to the behavior, and then we do the same thing for the police officer. So the police officer, the consequence was he took somebody's life. The behavior was he shot his gun multiple times. The antecedents were he pulled up on the scene and saw a young lady with a knife trying to attack somebody. Y'all get what I'm saying? Now, when I break it down like that, does it make sense to you? I'm hoping that when I break it down like that, it makes sense. And I'm going to download this video and try to, give you some clips, because I really do want you to understand what I'm saying. Because you have to understand the elements of crime, but you also have to understand the cycle of behavior to really be able to start rationalizing some of these things. Because we get really emotional. And let me tell you something. I'm black. I'm a black woman. So that means I could go out here and get shot. But let me tell y'all this, for real. I have had so many encounters with police officers, for good and bad. The bad is because I drive like a bat out of hell. So, when I would get pulled over for speeding, the officer would ask me, I said, well, officer, how fast was I going? He would tell me, I'd be like, you know what, you're right. Most of the time, I tell them straight up, listen, I'm trying to get to Danville. XYZ that happened with my mom. Or my first ticket I got was when my dad was still living. And I was in school, and my dad had a stroke. And they took him, to the emergency room or whatnot. And, I was trying to rush back home or whatever. Back to Danville. And so, and the police officer said something to me. He said, and it was an older white guy in Roanoke, Virginia. Well, in Boone's Mill. And he said, Miss Jones, I understand the situation, and I'm still going to write you this ticket. But what sense does it make for you to kill yourself trying to get to the hospital to see about your daddy? And guys, I could have got mad at him and gave him all kinds of lip. But I didn't, because in my mind, that made sense. At that point in time, my daddy was like 74 years old. He had been suffering with Alzheimer's for 4 years. So I already knew that at some point in time, my daddy was going to leave this world. So basically what that police officer was saying to me, you're only 18 years old. Are you going to kill yourself trying to go to the hospital to see your daddy? He in the best place. You can't do nothing to help him, and that was real. But had I been emotional about the situation, I could have cussed that police officer out and probably went to jail, and my daddy would have still been in the hospital, and I still wouldn't have saw him. So I say that to say, with these situations, guys, and when we're dealing with the police, I definitely want you to really just think about the ABCs relative to the criminal or the offender. I'm not going to say criminal. Relative to the offender or perpetrator and the police officer. And always remember your ABCs: antecedents, behavior, and consequences. And another thing, start to research the elements of a crime. Alright guys, y'all know I can be real messy sometimes and get on here and talk shit, but this is one of those situations where I really do want to educate the people, because I really hate seeing my people ignorant to the fact. And I really want you to have some scholarly knowledge and sources. And so one of the other things I'll do, I'm going to try to pull some files and everything and get y'all some information so y'all can start reading articles. I know a lot of you don't like to read, and the reason you don't like to read is because, honestly, let's be real, literacy is a thing of the past. A lot of adults this day and time cannot read. And if you can read, you might read fluently, but you may not be able to comprehend what you read. And that's an issue in itself, and we need to address that. But I don't have all day because I'm headed to an event. But guys, definitely peace and love. I will be back. I am definitely going to start doing some intros to criminal justice. I definitely want to support you guys and help you guys understand the law as it exists. But I also do want to talk about the double standard in our criminal justice system, because we have to address it. All right, everybody, it's been real. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.